Welcome back. As promised, I'm back again with another issue, another episode of Stand on Guard. Katie is in the wings, waiting to come on. I just wanted to say, first of all, this has been a long, difficult road for this farm, but it's not over. And the Supreme Court, as Katie will tell you in a minute, will be reporting soon on this. But regardless of their decision, there's a lot happening right now. This farm is fighting back fast and furious. And I think victory is still very possible. So we'll be back momentarily with more. This is breaking.
The Prime Minister lied and his minions continue to lie.
Your home is your castle. We're calling on the government to introduce and immediately pass the Stand on Guard law.
There we go. Back on track here. Thanks for joining me today. We had a few technical difficulties there, but without further ado, I want to welcome back Katie from the Universal Ostrich Farms. She's been a regular guest on this show. We've got some breaking news, but before we get to that, hi, Katie, so nice to have you back. And before we get to the breaking news about you just had a phone call this morning, I wanted to tell you I was at the Justice Center for Constitutional Freedoms fundraiser last night. Talked to John Carpe, who again lent his support, said, and whatever assistance is coming, he's willing to help in any way. But I can tell you, about 25 people at this event came up to me, and they said, "Yeah, we watch your show. We love your show. We see you on your Redacted every week. But thank you for all of the episodes you're doing about that ostrich farm in BC." And
Yeah.
I don't think there was a single person who came up to me, didn't mention the fact that thank you for doing the work on that, because not everybody is. And as I've shared with you before, Katie, there's always some detractor, always some rogue viewer every time we talk about this, or every time I do a show devoted to this, it says, it's not that important. Let's talk about something else. And this is you're wasting your time with this. But can you share with us? You had a phone call this morning with the Supreme Court of Canada, or a representative of what they have to say.
Yeah, it's just posted. So we have amazing people who have been watching this every day to see if we're listed. Thursday, Friday, they make the decision for the next following week on their docket, what's going to be heard at the Supreme Court of Canada level. And we were put on the docket for next week. So today, this morning, we found out that we will be heard, if they will hear our case, next week. And you're right. Even when people say, oh, let's talk about something else, this isn't that important. I mean, this is everything that's important right now. And it's not because of just our ostriches. It's about how we got here, how this started, what has happened in between, and what this means to all Canadians. This is everything that's important right now. This is our freedom of speech. This is our land rights. This is how they can come in and seize your property to kill based off suspicion. This is eradicating your animals with no respect, with no dignity, with no second thought. Science is being thrown out the window and speculation is winning. There's no more discovery. There's only destruction. This is everything that matters right now in Canada. And we need to see that, because if we don't see that, then we are that much further gone. This is something that will have a ripple effect for our future generations of nutritional food supply. This is something that's going to affect you on a vaccine reliance level, because the more we kill every animal on every farm, we are losing natural immunity. We're losing our firewalls in the systems of our animals that have been alive, their lineage. So we're losing this, and those firewalls get passed down to their babies. Now, when we kill everything and have to start from ground zero constantly, we are depleting any lineage of antibodies in our animals, which makes our animals weaker, which makes them more susceptible to viral mutation and viruses that are even more strong that we cannot get rid of. And then that means that you and me are more reliant on full-time vaccines for survival ourselves. So Big Pharma is the only one who wins out of this at the end of the day if we don't stop this at our ostrich farm. But this is everything that's important in Canada right now. There's so many topics here that we're all fighting for: freedom of speech, not to be punished by our government if we stand up for what we know is right and what you own. There's everything on the line here.
Yeah, I would certainly agree. Now you're fighting back. I think this could have happened sooner, but at least it's happening now rather than never at all. You filed a notice with, or your lawyer will be filing a notice with the RCMP to say that the CFIA has been breaching the order from the Supreme Court of Canada. It's funny because, I have been talking about this for quite a while because I've showed this slide during my interview with former Agriculture Minister Jerry Ritz, where it clearly says that
Oh, we can't hear you, David.
There we go.
There you go.
The CFI has custody of the birds, and I interpreted that to mean custody to mean that they had to care for them, to feed them, give them water, give them bedding. And of course, that's what you've discovered through Black's Law Dictionary. That's exactly what they are supposed to be doing, because the legal definition of custody is the CFIA must retain physical control of the animals. The CFIA has a legal duty of care to safeguard their health and well-being. The CFIA cannot alter, destroy, dispose of, or harm what they have custody of. Their role is to serve, not to prepare for execution of the notice under May. So that says to me, and I'm sure as it has to you, that the CFIA has not been doing any of these things. They have not been feeding the animals properly, not been giving adequate water. They did not give electrolytes to Spirit, and that's why that ostrich died. They have not providing bedding, for instance, in the death pen. A lot of your supporters have sent me documentation of that, and I find this absolutely incredible that they are getting away with this. It's a contravention of the Supreme Court order from 24 September 2025.
Now,
and I believe that CFIA and the RCMP aren't aware that there is a Supreme Court order that superseded the previous one, and they're obviously in direct violation of this.
Yeah, and remember, now there's another document that I should have had with me. I'll have it for you to put online, or however you want to put that out there. But September 22nd, we received an email from Canadian Food Inspection Agency with an answer to our reconsideration material. Now, our reconsideration documents went in to our Ag Minister, to Mary Jane Ireland, to who is for CFIA. Reconsideration material was us surrendering and saying, okay, you win, because what we've been fighting is that December 31st decision to kill. And we said, you win, fine. You feel like you made a justified decision on the December 31st. You win that. What we need to look at now is that these animals have been alive for almost 300 days, healthy, happy, full of antibodies and potential. Now we have to look at these 300 days, and let's look at how they recovered if they were sick. How are they living after being exposed? We are the perfect living laboratory of finding out more about avian influenza, which they say is going to be our next big problem, when it is a big problem. But they keep building hype up on it. So that reconsideration material, they sent us a letter on September 22nd and said, we will not hear this reconsideration material. Right there, that opens us up for a new federal court of appeal, because they said no, so we could appeal that no. That's number one on that letter. Number two, on September 22nd, the day they arrived, when we got that email, the date that letter is dated, they asked us to maintain feeding and watering and caring for the animals while they prepared to kill. As you remember, on the 23rd, my mom and I were arrested for doing the very thing Canadian Food Inspection Agency asked us to do: feed the animals. We were not being aggressive. We were not interfering. We were not impeding the officers' ability to perform their tasks. All we wanted to do was feed and water our animals to keep their routine the same, them calm, and have something that they knew in there that was normal. We got arrested for that. So there was that. And then when they took over, they had the drones flying above the birds. We had Spirit, the one that died, flip over a fence twice and got injured really bad. But the Canadian Food Inspection Agency on their website said she had compromised health. They didn't disclose how, that they actually injured her, and she flipped a fence due to their drones. Then they take over our birds and push all of our injured ostriches, because we had an injured pen, one guy with a half blind, one very old hen, one rooster who had his toe caught in a marmot hole and he was just healing. They pushed all of our injured birds out into the general public of our strong birds so that they would have got re-injured, or possibly even they could have died by now. And they've done nothing but neglect, abuse, and totally twist what has happened here. And they are in breach of the court stay order just based on that. They are not maintaining custody. So even if they were allowed to still prepare for the kill, that's one thing. They are not maintaining custody of the animals. They will not allow us to go and care for, we have another injured hen. They were pushing her and poking her with a long prod stick and pushed her into a pen, and she could barely get up. We have supporters coming to our house in tears, crying every day. We have people who are watching her with binoculars, bawling their eyes out, because we have a hen out there who's suffering again under the care of Canadian Food Inspection Agency. Canadian Animal Cruelty Agency is my new name. And we're sitting here, watch it. So we're going on the offense now. I mean, we've been trying to work with our lawyer, and he's been preparing documents, he says, and all of this stuff, which he's done a fantastic job. But this last 3 weeks, as you would say, David, we don't have anything in. There should have been something in on this already 2 weeks ago. There should have been so many different avenues challenged by now, and we're just not there. So I don't know what is going on, but we're going to try and take this into our own hands here. A bit.
Well,
we're still working with Omar, but we're going to be pushing into this next steps here on our own.
Now, your lawyer will be arguing in this legal letter to the RCMP that the Supreme Court quashed the warrant to search. The warrant to search was issued on September 3rd, and then, of course, it was the sole basis of it was enforcing the earlier notice. When the Supreme Court stayed enforcement, the legal foundation of the warrant ceased to exist, thereby rendering it moot. So the CFI lost all jurisdiction to continue occupying, controlling the farm property after that date. Now, some people might be asking, if you're going to get a Supreme Court ruling that could be negative on November 6th, is it worth pursuing this? I would say absolutely, because this indicates there has been a month-long, 5-week-long breach of a Supreme Court order. And I think this will have an effect on the Supreme Court decision on November 6th, and it could well lead to a political solution, which of course I've been talking about from day one. But it amazes me that nobody seemed to notice, and I'm sure you did, and you expected your legal team to notice, that they were in violation of the September 24th Supreme Court order that we all remember you holding up and waving as a sign of at least temporary or interim victory. And it amazes me that something wasn't done earlier. But I don't think at a point where something can't be done right now. And I just wanted to, this also struck me here. demand for immediate RCMP action to since notify the CFIA immediately that its legal authority was extinguished by the Supreme Court stay order. Order CFI to cease all unauthorized operations and vacate the premises. Allow the owners and their agents unrestricted access to their land and livestock. I think even if you can get that, because we don't know what the parameters of that Supreme Court decision are going to be, how much more time it might give you, but it might not be over on November 6th, is what I'm saying, because there might be some wiggle room. There might be more room for you and in your family to maneuver to get the message out. So by no means should you be saying that a negative decision by the Supreme Court is the end of the.
Oh no, we have so much fight in us, David. I mean, it is exhausting, and no family should ever have to go through the psychological warfare and what we've been going through, when all we've asked for is collaboration, communication, transparency, accountability. We've just been asking for the very, very, very righteous, the normal things in life, common sense. That's all we've been asking for. An adult conversation around a table with Canadian Food Inspection Agency to collaborate on better ways and bringing opportunity to Canada, treating viruses and diseases for the future. And then we find out that the Canadian Food Inspection Agency goes and a month and a half after they give us our 5-hour Zoom call of taking all of our intellect property, which they lie about too, saying we never supplied them with research. We never supplied them with any of our papers and information based off what we have here. And we did 5.5 hours and about a week. They bled us of all of our information, what vets we've talked to, what scientists have we worked with, what are our data, what's our results, what therapeutics were we gonna create. Then they find out that we were going to create diagnostic test kits for farmers. This is in January. March, Canadian Food Inspection Agency rather take your taxpayer dollars and go and fund almost $1 million grant to a Quebec private lab, Lafont Medical, to create what they learned from us how to create and that we were going to create. So rather than work with us for free and collaborate with us about these diagnostic test kits and use our science, they went and gave $1 million of all of your money to a private lab to recreate our science. So that's just another one of these things that is just absolutely insanity. They are stealing our science. Number 2, yesterday, they started taking some of the big hay bales off the kill pen that they designed in the back of our fields. And they were saying that it was for muddy areas that are really hard for the police to get in and out of. You don't take the bales out of the highly contaminated zone and go just drive them over where the police are driving every day and then head it back to the city, to the hotels. So now the vehicles are driving on the bales of the hay that were in the highly contaminated so-called zone, and they are breaking protocol everywhere. Nothing makes sense. Nothing makes sense. And this is where they're going to get caught in it because they need to be held accountable. You're accountable for your actions, David. I'm accountable for my actions. The world lets me know that. And I'll own it. If I do something wrong, say something wrong, you're going to hear it from me. I made a mistake. But the Canadian Food Inspection Agency cannot say they made a mistake. And that's where we got to this position, is that they're too far up a ladder. They don't know how to get back down it. And we're going to see, and that's what they're fighting for, millions of dollars in 4 weeks, millions of dollars to protect animals, to kill them. How does that make sense? How does that make sense? There was an RCMP officer found out from a lady's son. He was paid to choose to be here and in overtime, and all of his money that hours he's been here, $23,000 in a week he made to be here. So that's your money. our money. That's everybody else's money when we could be actually solving a problem of avian influenza with what we have here, mitigating a risk to all Canadians, all of our farmers, and helping a problem rather than protecting to kill.
And of course, as Jerry Ritz, former ag minister, told me, he estimates the cost of this operation to be $100,000 a day.
Oh, I would
And of
say
course,
it's more than that. I honestly, that to me, it just, and I don't discredit that, but I think it's got to be more than that for the command centers and the units and the everything they have going on here. It's, you have to see it. It blows a person's mind when they pull in.
it's incredible.
Yeah.
Absolutely is. Are you able to get that document filed today? Is your lawyer able to get that filed today, whether it's in Vernon, Kelowna, Vancouver? Can they get that filed today because time is a wasting? And is he or she, and looking into affidavits or compiling video that documents the multitude of violations that CFIA has committed? I mean, I have put at least a dozen on this program, but from videos I've received, not just from yourself, but
Mhm.
from people and media at the farm, but from about a dozen of your supporters who email me every night and send me videos saying, look what the
Yeah.
CFI did last night. Have you got this ready to go?
Yes, we do. We do. And we have a 10:30 call with him this morning after I'm done here with you and everybody. And we're pushing. Everybody doesn't know, God bless everybody's heart. It'll make me emotional because everybody says, why aren't you helping this hen? Why aren't you doing more? Why aren't they
Yeah.
feeding them? We are fighting every second of the day. This weight is sitting heavy on our chest, on our shoulders. This is what's wrong. When you say that this isn't important, this is everything that is important. Nobody should ever have their rights stripped away, their land rights, watch their animals through two fences in front of RCMP, not one, not two, but dozens of RCMP, be neglected, abused, and punished for you standing up for a better way for Canadians. There's so much wrong here, and this is an agency that's gone rogue. And if we don't stop it here, we have a massive problem, Canada. And this is just kind of highlights so many other bigger issues at play here right now. But we are working, and we've worked 11 months, sacrificing time with our own children, families, isolated, and gone through so many highs and lows, near kills, and then we win an interim stay order, battles and personal attacks, but we're still fighting, and we are still strong, and we are still going to take this to the finish line. And we're doing it for Canada. As much as some people don't realize that, we're doing it for a better Canada.
Well, I don't think if you were just battling for yourself, for your farm, your family, I don't know if you would have found the incredible energy that you have somehow found to carry the ball this far, unless you were working for a larger cause, unless you were working for the nation, for Canada. I firmly believe that from the first day I met you on virtually. I have believed that throughout this, and I have fought hard because I know this is not just an isolated event. But
No, it's not.
one of the things I kept saying was that God help us if the Supreme Court waits another month, because the CFI is obviously doing something to those birds. I did a show the
Yeah.
other day, and when I was on Redacted yesterday, I said the CFI has brought some very suspicious mechanisms, machinery on to the
Mhm.
site. Some of it to do with septic tanks. Your mom, I put your mom's video up on Redacted, or Clayton put it up on Redacted yesterday, where she says, "I'm hearing this grinding noise, this blender sound. What is it?" I put a couple of videos up this week that were given to me once again from people, eyewitnesses, who said, I heard a grinding sound. It was like a steak. The one guy said it was like a steak going into a blender. You could just hear the meat being chopped up He says, what was that? And of course, it's all happening in the wee small hours of the morning when they think everybody's asleep. It's happening in clandestine situations. It's happening under the cover of darkness. But I know we have no proof that they're pulverizing, they're liquefying ostriches with a process that is in place in the United States with the Department of Agriculture, and it's called hydraulic cremation, and it is absolutely barbaric.
Yeah.
We can't prove it's happening. We know something is going on, but the greatest proof, and I say this on my show every day, Katie, what the hell is happening to the ostriches? There's not 300, 330, as the CFIA says. We've got people up on the hill using a zoom lens saying, okay, how many ostriches do you see? We've got the entire area in view here. How many do you count? And people are coming back and saying, I can't see more than 200,
Yeah.
maybe 220 tops. So something is happening to those birds. They are not vanishing in thin air. They are, I
No.
believe, being destroyed. And I think this is, again, a gross violation of what the CFIA was mandated to do. This is criminal if this indeed is what is happening. This needs to be investigated. And I think if you get this, if you file this motion as soon as possible, I think you have an opportunity to force the CFIA to prove that they're not destroying these animals, because clearly the evidence is showing that they are in
Yeah.
one form or another.
Yeah.
This is a vast crime. And I said to Clayton Morris yesterday, he said, this is horrific. And I said, it's Halloween. This has become a horror farm because it used to be a place of serenity and peace and goodness. It's been taken over by goons, demonic goons, who are turning it into a farm from hell. And I said, it's very apropos. It's Halloween. If it's Halloween tomorrow, it's Halloween today. But I can't tell you, we need to bring these people to justice. And I think if you file this as soon as possible, you have a better chance of doing that.
I agree. And you are right. This is a place where if you look one way on our farm, it's serene. It is beautiful. It's peaceful. There's a river. And what used to look the other way, be so full of life and vibrant and dancing ostriches and booming in the field, and is now so cold and quiet. And these animals are laid down all the time, and they're hungry. They're stripping leaves. They're stripping branches of leaves that they've never done before. Their round backs are slowly starting to cave in at the back. You can tell that these animals who've been so used to human touch and human interaction and love every day, it takes us 2.5 hours a day to do chores. They've been videoed for 16 minutes. They think somehow that they have fed and they've cared for all of these animals. 16 minutes takes us 2.5 hours. These animals are earning for that love again, to be called pretty bird, to be touched, to be fed and always looked at and talked to. And they're suffering, and the world is watching. The world's going to continue to watch, and the world is also praying. And that's what's got us through this. I'm sorry, it's been an emotional day. But this is what they do to you. They want to break you down, and they just don't know that they picked with the wrong family. They picked the wrong family to do what they've done. We're going to hold them accountable. The world's going to hold them accountable. And we're going to fight for a better way, because as we all know too, the problems here go much deeper, right? This is the Canadian Food Inspection Agency, but I was talking to Wade Northson from Australia. This is happening all over the world. They are going after the beehives. They're going after your cattle. They're going after our pigs. They're going after the poultry. They're going after everything. And that is a greater problem, because that's the World Health Organization. It's the World Animal Health Organization. This is to do with the the UN, the WEF. There's an agenda here, and that agenda is to get rid of our farms, to get rid of our sustainable nutritional food supply that has antibodies and healthy immune immunity, and they want us sicker so that we become more reliant on their vaccination protocols. When we have to become reliant on that for survival, then big pharma just grows. The elite becomes more elite. The elite will be eating the healthy, sustainable, nutritional food because they're not guaranteed not going to get rid of it. They'll be eating it from some hidden place or wherever they get it from. We'll be eating the lab-grown meat. We will be begging for our vaccinations because we need to survive. We'll have our digital ID. We'll be pushed into our 15-minute cities. About 11 months ago, if you would have said that to me, I probably would have been looked at you and went, okay. Now, after everything I've seen, everything I've read, because man, Canada, you got to start reading this stuff. It's right there for you to read. It's in the bills. It's in the 2030 agenda. Just start reading it. Look at the structure of our government and start to realize that we have non-elected governing bodies making the decisions for our country. Mark Carney doesn't make the decisions anymore. Our provincial government doesn't make the decisions anymore. Our municipalities barely make the decisions anymore. This is something where we need to stop this now, regain.
No.
Thing without me, and we need to regain control of what we want for the future, for your children, for my children, for our grandchildren. And if you ever want to see cows wandering around in a field healthy, bales out in a field, if you want to have your backyard chickens and go collect your eggs with your kids, or even if you just like to go to the farmer's market on a Saturday, you need to stand up with us at Universal Ostrich Farms right now because it's all on the line.
You have spoken about how you believe the CFIA is using this opportunity to steal.
Yeah.
They would probably say expropriate. The research that your farm has done on ostrich genetics and antibodies, which you've said so many times, is a boon not just to animal health, but potentially the world. I think they're also using your farm as a laboratory to test this water cremation method, because I got a note yesterday from somebody who's very close to the subject. He said, please don't mention my name. I actually work for the government. And he said that one of these water cremation devices is in use by the CFIA at the Winnipeg lab. That's the same lab, by the way, where there were two Chinese spies working at. They were quietly sent home. That's the same lab. But I believe, and I'm speculating here, but I think this is highly plausible. I think the CFIA is using your farm as a laboratory to see if this process is more efficient, more effective in killing. And it reminds me of other regimes in the past that always were looking for more efficient ways of killing things. In many cases, that was people. And I suggest if we allow animals to be killed in this way, eventually people will be killed in this way. And it's going to be Soylent Green. We're going to be hearing it's people. It's not just animals that are going to be affected by this. And I think that's another reason we have got to stop what they're doing here. Get that document filed as soon as you can, because I was just reminded by my producer here. What did the CFIA do with Spirit's body? Because they claim not one ostrich has been removed.
Yeah, she's decaying out there underneath a tent. We're pretty sure that they have a tent over her body right now, and which again, for disease or virus or anything like that, she should be properly disposed of, and that means buried. She should be buried in the manner that they showed us and told us how we needed to dispose of our animals. But she's over there by the barn in which she died in under a tent. And I don't know why. And they call this an investigation. They got caught calling this an investigation to the RCMP, because when we asked, went and took the drone up, they were going to do a count. And then one of the lead officers came back in the morning and said, I'm sorry, I got reprimanded from Canadian Food Inspection Agency for doing a count on the ostriches because they said that he was impeding, or he was impeding an investigation. There's no investigation here. I don't know what they're investigating. They are killing. That's all they're here for. They're a killing machine. Canadian Food Inspection Agency is not proactive. They're reactive. And they are reactive so much that they kill. That's all they do. They do not sustain. They do not treat. They do not heal. They kill. And so there's no investigation here, but her spirit's body is laying out there decaying right now. And one more thing, that they just don't follow their own protocol. They were camped. They brought their motorhomes here, and they camped right over our disposal piles. We have videos of it. We have pictures of it. They camped with their motorhomes over the hottest zone on our farm if we were infected. On the hottest zone of the farm, they put their motorhome. Then when they saw that everybody witnessed it and was talking about it, they moved their motorhome to a new location. They don't know how to follow their own protocol. They don't know what their code of conduct is. They don't know their mandates. They don't know. And they don't know how to follow it. And they've never had to be watched like this. And that is what is making them make so many mistakes, because they've never been held accountable. And Universal Ostrich Farms is going to hold them accountable. At some level, this is going to be the change. We are going to see change here. And I just hope that it's with whatever animals are left out there. I hope that it's with their lives still here with us, their hearts beating, not killed.
Well, our hopes and prayers are with you there, Katie, and with those ostriches. And I think regardless of how this ultimately ends, I think you're going to win in the court of public opinion. You've always said history is on your side, and history
We're on the
is
right side of
definitely,
history. Right side of history.
you're on the right side of history. And I think the fight that you put up, you didn't roll over. You didn't allow the government to steamroll you. You fought back. You fought back effectively and articulately. And I just have to make an aside here. I had a look the other day at some of the absolutely toxic material that's out there,
Thank you.
attacking you. And the one I laughed hardest at was somebody who suggested that you say a lot and are not very articulate. And I was tempted. I would never do this, Katie. I never get into these cyberspace fisticuffs with people over things that are said about myself. And I've come under a lot of attack myself for the positions I've taken, or my friends. But I'm very tempted to come back and said, Katie's the most articulate spokeswoman I have ever come across. And I've
That's really
spent
kind of
career
you.
as a journalist and as a public affairs officer in the military. And she's fantastic at what she does. And by the way, she wasn't even trained to do this. She does it naturally. She does it well. And how dare you suggest that she's not living up to a standard that is ridiculous, and you're criticizing her on things she doesn't even do. So I want to leave it at this.
Even if I do, again, you said it best. I didn't wake up when I wasn't born and went to school for this. This is, I was thrown into this, and 10 months ago, I was scared shitless of being on camera. But I know that every time I get on camera, I have an opportunity to speak on behalf of our family, on behalf of these animals that don't have a voice, and to create change. And that's all I'm trying to do. And I'm going to stay strong, and I'm going to stay powerful in my messaging as much as I can be. But you're right. They didn't write a handbook on this. There's no handbook on how to save your family, how to save Canada, how to save the agricultural sector 101. There is no handbook on this. And when everything is coming at you 1,000 miles an hour from every direction, you take it as best as you can. You lean on God. We pray. Do we ever pray on this farm? And prayer is getting us through. And I'm going to know that I don't ask that all of you like me. It's not going to, no one is ever going to always like everybody. But one thing at the very end of this, you'll see, is that all we tried to do was fight for our freedoms, our voices, and to have a better way in Canada and stop us from having the next set of mandates that are coming down the pipeline for avian influenza that you need to educate yourself on before you allow yourself to go down this rabbit hole of fear.
Well, I want to offer you this encouragement. I know you've got to get on to another phone call. I know you spend half of your life on the phone.
Yeah.
And I understand sometimes you can't respond to my queries, but you're going to be attacked in the next week, Katie. I think like you've never been attacked before. People are going to be praying for you. You're going to be protected by that prayer. But but you're going to hear from the usual trolls, the usual liars, the usual scumbags, and the usual people who have nothing better to do but get into a fight, or they're part of an engineered bot.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
know who they are. You know what I'm talking about.
I do.
Don't
I do.
let them get you down, because they are outnumbered 100,000 to 1 by the people in this country. And I hear from them every day, who support what you're doing, who love what you're doing, and who
Thank
think
you.
you are fighting for this country. But don't let them get you down. I know you sometimes do, and it's easy for me to say, oh, okay,
Yeah.
no big deal. It's hard. Remember those 100,000 people who love what you're doing, and reach out to people like myself who really know you're doing the right thing,
Yeah.
and will continue to fight for you. But don't let them get you down, because they'll be at you,
The best advice.
because they know you're stronger now. Right
Yeah.
now, by attacking the CFIA, by going proactive, as we say in the communications world,
Proactive.
you are stronger, and you are putting them on the spot. They're no longer, they can't do this to you anymore. They're not going to isolate you and define you and tell you what you have to do and what you have to think. Turn
Yeah.
this around on them, get after their asses, and be
Yeah.
proactive. And that's what you
I
need to
like it.
do today.
I like
And
it.
okay, I know
Thank
you got
you.
to get going, Katie. Thank you. And
I appreciate you, and I
hopefully we can.
appreciate all of your audience and all of your listeners. And you've been a rock for our family in this, and helping us expose and bring to light some really serious topics. And I just really thank you for all of your commitment to this.
Well, thank you, Katie. Hopefully you have a chance to talk later, and
Sounds good.
about the things we discussed earlier. Thanks
Perfect.
so much,
Good.
Katie. We're with
Hey,
you. We're
thank you.
praying for you. God bless. Bye
Thanks.
for
God
now.
bless. Bye-bye.
That, of course, was Katie from Universal Ostrich Farms. What a fighter for freedom. And thank you for watching today. Thank you so much for watching today, because this has been a tremendous experience. We did a broadcast earlier, and then we had breaking news in the middle of it. We came back for a second broadcast. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for the numbers of you who showed up the second time to watch this broadcast. We're going to keep fighting for the truth, for veracity, for what's right. That's what this show is all about. Thank you for watching. I will be back again tomorrow at the usual time. God bless you all. This has been David Creighton broadcasting to you live from Ottawa. This has been Stand on Guard. And bye.